All right, folks, quick one here, a quick video. I'm going to talk briefly about this interaction I had with this completely unsuspicious sounding character, AI Machine Learn 1, in my Telegram chat recently. So he's responding here to an audio clip I made talking about an old work colleague of mine, a guy who's decent, down-to-earth, friendly, sociable guy, but who tends to go with the wind, who tends to just go along with whatever the current thing is. And I mentioned that we really need to start or see how we can appeal to such people, because there's a lot of Irish people like that, And I mentioned at the end of that audio clip that we also need to try and form or create an Ireland which has a pro-Ireland vision of the country, In other words, we need to have a government which looks out for Ireland first and foremost, which has Ireland as its number one priority, and the people of Ireland as the people it should be looking out for. It should be taken care of. And that's what I meant by pro-Ireland vision. This guy somehow doesn't get it. Somehow he's failed to understand this if he has been following me as he says he has been, I don't know how he could not have picked up on this, but somehow he hasn't. So I was suspicious from the start here. Why is he coming in here asking all these questions? I mean, anyone who's been following me will know what I'm about. So I pushed back a bit here. I said, look, you tell me what your vision is, first of all. And then if you could tell me what your vision is, this is my way of judging, is this guy being serious or is he just time wasting? Is he trolling? Because this same guy was around about 6 months ago and tried the same thing, and I just booted him out after a while because he was just time wasting. But he says, no, I've never trolled. I'm not surprised that you were afraid to state what you want. I'm not, okay, this guy is really taking the piss here. I'm not surprised that you are afraid to state what you want, even though I've been stating what I wanted for the last few years. So I knew this guy he actually has not been following me. He actually doesn't know much about me in that case. He's a blow-in. And this is where I thought, okay, this is coming across a lot like Mark Malone or someone of that ilk, someone with an NGO activist type background, who is perhaps coming in here and trying to provoke me, trying to trigger a response, trying to get me to say something a little bit outrageous, a little bit controversial. Then he'd do a screenshot and then he can go back to his buddies, his organization. Oh, see, I told you, even this guy who maybe didn't seem too bad at first, look what he's really like. So this is how they operate, and I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a guy who's a bit of a sperg, who doesn't know how to interact normally. But I think it's quite possible, quite likely he is actually somebody who's up to no good, Anyway, he goes on here. I have never trolled, blah, blah, blah. In an ideal world, all non-European immigration will be no more than 1% of the population. Okay, fine. However, I believe we need to be part of a greater European project. So migration within the EU will be far more generous. And this got me thinking, what is this guy on about? Like, has he not been in the country over the last 20 years? Has he not witnessed the really serious demographic transformation of Ireland over the last 20 to 25 years? I mean, the dogs on the street can see this, I mean, look at towns like, say, Monaghan, Athlone, Clonmel, Sligo, Dundalk. I mean, there's so many places in Ireland that I've just seen an absolutely massive transformation in their demographics, And yes, I know they're still majority Irish, but still, if you go from like 95, 96, 97% Irish to 80% Irish in a short space of time, that there is something up. There's something wrong there. And of course, the biggest question of all in all of this, of course, that nobody was asked. Not one person was asked. Not one person in Ireland consented to this, This is the whole thing of sovereignty, The Irish people should be sovereign in their own land. Of course. I mean, this shouldn't even need to be stated, frankly. But unfortunately, it does have to be stated. And so many Irish people don't even realise this, That's the bottom line. We were never asked. And this is the the thing that's so glaring about all of this, you know. Like I mentioned several times, it's never been an anti-foreigner position. But, you know, Irish people should be sovereign in Ireland. And we're not. And that's the fact. That's the bottom line. Like, and the same in Britain. The Brits should be sovereign in Britain. The French should be sovereign in France. The Germans should be sovereign in Germany. But that sovereignty has been taken away from them by these organisations, you know, by the broader EU project, by you know, by the ruling class there in these organisations, by the WEF, by the UN, the World Health Organization, and so on. All these big three-letter organisations have really stripped ordinary people of their power, you know, of their sovereignty. And this is the terrible thing about all of this. So anyway, I really smelled a rat when he was talking about being part of a greater European project, which would require more migration, much more generous migration within the EU. Like, I thought this guy is not being serious here, you know. There's no way anyone could have lived in this country, or even not even lived, but just seen what's happened in this country over the last 20 years or so, and not notice, like, whether it be the huge influx of Eastern Europeans from about 2004 onwards, or whether it be since the citizenship ceremonies really kind of took off from about 2011 onwards, you know. And obviously you see a lot of Brazilians, a lot of Chinese, Indians, of course, in a big way over the last while too, into the multinational sector particularly. And then before that, you would have had the anchor babies, you would have had the abuse of the asylum system, you know, by Africans to a large extent, and, you know, Middle Easterners and Pakistanis and so on. And a small amount coming from, you know, the Balkans and all that. But the bottom line is, you know, Ireland has been exploited. Ireland's generosity has been completely exploited by the ruling class in Ireland, you know. And this is unforgivable, frankly, you know, and it's going to be very hard to. It might not even be possible to reverse that, you know. But at the very least, you need to stop the rot, you know. And this is what I mean by pro-Ireland policies. You stop the rot. You stop this demographic transformation. You know, you just don't allow it to continue. And it's okay for me to say that, of course. I mean, I have no power here as a YouTuber, but you have to start somewhere, you know. And by discussing these ideas and talking about what you would like Ireland to become in years to come, like, you, at the very least, at the very start, you want to have Irish people to be sovereign in Ireland, and then you go from there. And that would be one of my main goals in all of this, is that we bring back a situation where Irish people are sovereign in Ireland and that we can decide our future. Not Macron, not Olaf Scholz, you know, not Franz Timmermans, not Christine Lagarde, you know, not these big oligarch type people within the EU and the IMF and the UN and World Economic Forum and so on. Anyway, let's continue on here. So I mentioned to this guy, look, let's be fair. Like, your name sounds very, very trollish. And you coming in here accusing me of being afraid to state my opinion when I've been doing exactly that for the last few years. That's some straw man. Yeah, so basically, as Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men, you know, you have to ask me nicely. That's all. Just ask, just be normal. Don't be a sperg. Just be normal. It's not too much to ask, you know, don't be arrogant. And if you're not arrogant, I will interact with you. Even people who have, you know, quite different views to me. And here he comes back, okay, I've followed your channel and still have no idea what you actually want. I mean, this makes no sense. There's no way he's been following my channel and has no idea what I want like that. So I knew this guy is not being genuine here. Okay, he continues, do you want mass immigration to stop? Do you want to integrate 20% of foreign born living in the country as long as they have Irish values? Do you have preference for immigrants from some countries as opposed to others? What are you trying to convince your friend of? So I think what he's trying to do here is he's kind of talking about more of a kind of civ-nat position here. You know, he's kind of, I think what he's trying to do here is trying to, you know, get me to respond in a kind of ethno-nat, in an ethnas way. You know, he wants me to respond in something like, no, Ireland for the Irish, you know, kick all the immigrants out, deport them, you know. It's almost like he's trying to do that and then take a screenshot and then he's got his evidence. See, I told you on 4, you know, this guy is not to be trusted. You know, he might come across all pleasant, you know, in some of his videos, but underneath he's just a racist, bigot, xenophobe, like all the rest of them. So could be, might not be, but could be. But I just thought this is not how you interact normally with someone, whether it be in real life or whether it be in Telegram chat. So I just got back to him here. Look, frankly, if you've been following my channel, and you still have no idea what I'm about, then you must be thick. You'd have to be thick not to have understood what I'm about if you actually genuinely do follow my channel. So I said, look, I'm not going to go spelling this out to one person. Something that anyone with a bit of cop on realizes after watching even just a couple of my videos. So I said, look, don't be arrogant. Just don't be a prick, And unfortunately, you failed that very first test. So enough. That's enough. And so I had enough at that point. But anyway, look, sure. Tell me, what do you think? Like, do you think this guy was a troll? Or do you think I overreacted? I mean, some of the questions he's asking here, there is some validity to them, but it's just that tone. You know the way you get an idea of what somebody is like from their tone, and his tone from the start was demanding. So I thought, this is not really this is not how you come in. If you actually want to get positive answers, you want to get constructive answers from someone, you don't come in this kind of all guns blazing way. Like, this is not how you behave, So I think that was someone who could well have been a troll, could well have been an NGO type. Either way, this is not someone who is looking to form a constructive conversation, So I'm not going to entertain people who don't engage with me with respect, That's what it boils down to. So anyway, look, yeah, let me know what you think about that. Maybe that's useful, maybe that's interesting, maybe that's instructive. Either way, that's about all I've got time for now. I've got some things to do today. So yeah, thanks for listening, folks, and I'll talk to you soon.